It is a Financial Friday with Bill Levitt. So excited to have Bill back with us. And Bill, thank you so much. And I hear you have a graduate.
I do. It's exciting. My oldest daughter, Leah, Melissa, is going to be graduating from Winnipeg this weekend.
Wow. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
Thanks.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome.
I thought it was a great time to have this conversation, right? Toll bridge to retirement, as I call it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And again, Bill is with Bridge Life Financial Advisors doing our Financial Friday, as we always do. And yeah, this is a great time. I mean, we've got a lot of people who have kids graduating college. And honestly, Bill, one of the things you and I connected on a long time ago was the idea of financial literacy, or rather the lack of financial literacy that is required in schools before kids even go off to college, but let alone once they graduate. So I'm really excited that we're talking about this kind of after the cap and gown. How do we refocus on retirement after funding our child or even grandchild's education? Because, you know, it's one thing for the kids to certainly understand their financial future, and we talk about that a lot. But for the adults who hopefully, you know, could take care of some, and in some regards, all of the college, which is amazing. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, let's talk about shifting the financial mindset. Let's start there.
Well, yeah. So, you know, what happens when you're thinking of helping your kids through college, right? You got to figure out the finances. It's a complicated time for them. They're trying to figure out and understand their direction and future financially too, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, all of a sudden you get to this stage and they're graduating, and for many people, you're surprised at how fast the time has gone, which is something that happened to me too. But what do you do at that particular stage, right? How do you change your mindset to start thinking about your own future? You know, it's a time to, if you will, to move from supporting your kids to some degree. Obviously, we're going to continue to help them in any capacity, but prioritizing, you know, yourself and your own future, right? So your retirement needs to become what I consider to be the top financial priority again in your life. All right, so you know, this is a bit of a toll bridge in life. You have to stop and address it, but you want to go back to yourself. You know, you want to start considering, what does your future look like? You know, I always say that you can borrow for college, but you can't borrow for retirement.
True. Well, and it is interesting, Bill, because it's like anything in life. You know, we go through different phases, if you will. And what this kind of reminds me of is, you know, when you raise kids, you sort of, I don't want to say you take a break from your spouse, because obviously you guys are, you know, co-parenting, you're co-living, you're co-doing life together, absolutely. But you don't get to prioritize in the way that you used to before kids. You don't get to prioritize your relationship until they kind of are settled and out of the house, at least. So there's sort of that period of, oh, wait, I do like you, right? But who are you? We need to kind of date again and figure ourselves out again. So that's what this kind of reminds me of is, okay, we finished the educational journey. Our kids have the tools they need to now go out and do things. I mean, is that something you kind of recommend to your clients to kind of shift your focus? It's not a matter of, okay, you're out on your own, we're done supporting you, but it is a matter of, hey, if I don't put the mask on me, I can't really put my kids' masks on, right? It's sort of that kind of analogy where it's okay to kind of shift the thinking of financially, let's go back to focusing on me and my spouse, right? I mean, I think that's a healthy thing to do.
I think it's a priority to do because, you know, let's be straightforward on it. Our kids aren't going to take care of us in retirement, right? They're already going to face their own challenges financially, you know, and so we must begin to reconsider. People have to start reconsidering, you know, am I on the right track, right? Am I behind? Am I ahead? And that means reassessing where you stand. So you take a fresh look at retirement savings, your current contributions, and really take a look at the timeline you're going to consider retiring, because that's important too. Are you on the right track, or are you not on the right track? You know, is your train about to go off the track?
Well, and I like what you said too, Bill, because I didn't really think about it this way until you just said that out loud. If even the analogy I said still, because so for example, you know, my mom and dad are very like kids come first kind of a thing. But if the analogy I used didn't work, what you just said is so important, which is, you know, you want to help your kids out, right? It's not going to help your kids if you're getting up into your retirement age and you can't afford the health care that you need. And now your kids have to figure out footing the bill for that, or they've got to figure out, well, where are we going to put them, or it puts a strain on your relationship. So, for example, in our household, my grandmother, who was a single mom, by the way, she's no longer with us, and it was fine. From a kid's standpoint, it was great that she lived with us, but there was no money saved for retirement, and so she lived with us. And from my mom's standpoint, as much as it was a blessing for her kids, it absolutely changed their relationship. I mean, it really put a strain on them. And there was resentment there, that I think, to your point, we can't rely on our kids to take care of our retirement. So by prioritizing yourself, you are kind of still prioritizing your kids. Just saying.
You are, because that puts a heavy burden on them too, right?
Right.
Because they're trying to create their own lives. They're trying to create their own families, and if they have to help or support, their parents at some stage, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big believer that, our parents take care of us in the first half of our lives, and we should take care of them in the second half of theirs. But from a financial standpoint, it helps a lot when parents are in a great place. So it's not just for them; it's for their children, right?
Right.
And it's better for the whole family. And so this is a great time to say, am I on the right track? Basically, go back and revisit your retirement plan, your goals, your income needs. Look at your investment strategy. Do you need to save more, or maybe? Fortunately, you may have to work a little bit longer or adjust your expectations slightly. But either way, you should be reevaluating it at this particular stage and getting yourself back on the right path, or maybe you're on the right path, but you need to make some minor adjustments, or possibly you need to optimize things a little bit. Maybe you've done the best you can, but you're missing a few things, and this is a chance for you to really get yourself on the right path and have a great retirement for yourself.
Do you ever find, Bill, that you have clients that might kind of fall into, well, the support doesn't end after college, so kind of like a trap?
Yes. I've met with many families who put strain on themselves to pay for all the college. Kids take a different journey, or they decide not to go into the field that they thought, so they go back to school, and the parents continue to finance it. They take equity loans out on their houses. And they put themselves in danger. Really, they really do. They set themselves up for failure in retirement because they can't change the mindset that they must do everything for their children. And the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, this is just my opinion, they're setting their kids up for failure because they're not allowing them to take over the reins of their lives and to work hard and go through situations that are impactful to them and figure a path for themselves, right? Independence and sustainability.
Right. Well, and it kind of comes back to that initial point we were talking about, which is that I honestly think if kids got a better understanding of, financial literacy, I think they would also understand the requests or the changes that they are making. But you're right. If they're in an environment where it's like, well, anything goes, whatever I need, it's going to be financially taken care of by mom and dad, then yeah, you're just kind of in this endless cycle of you're never going to be able to prioritize your retirement. You're just going to kind of keep going back to that.
Absolutely, or even just other aspects in life. And so they have to understand the impact of what they're putting on their parents and what their parents are doing for them. And they also have to have skin in the game. They have to have responsibility for the cost of college, the outcome of it, all those things. I mean, I think it's super important to teach kids because they are behind, a lot of them. This is a time for them to really grasp the reins and even set themselves up for the future, But it goes back to the beginning of our conversation, and that's parents have to have a change in mindset.
So I think that's hard to do, though, Bill. Especially, I mean, look, you're about to watch your daughter cross the stage this weekend for graduation, and I imagine that this is where a financial advisor would be very helpful in even just changing your mindset, because I think the average person's not going to know how to do that on their own.
Well, it does help. And so to some degree, not just giving financial advice, we help people to understand the path that they're on. We help them to see what their goals are, their dreams, and help them to, see a different way of approaching it. Sometimes they think that there's only one path, but there's lots of paths and there's lots of solutions, and there's always a way to solve all kinds of things financially. And so, we help people to do just that and then figure out what's the steps you need to take financially or what tools you need to do to accomplish it, and then have a roadmap, if you will, to be able to get where you want to be and in retirement.
Yeah. Well, Bill, if people want to work with you and your team at Bridge Life Financial Advisors, what's the best way to reach you?
You can just go up to our website, bridgelifeadvisors.com, and connect with us.
Well, Bill, I hope that you and your family celebrate this weekend. What an amazing accomplishment for your daughter. Congratulations again, and I appreciate you.
I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good discussion
today. You too. I love this. After the capping gown, how do you refocus on retirement after funding your child's education? It's a big time to kind of refocus and maybe shift from supporting them to prioritizing you. And always appreciate Bill and his team at Bridge Life Financial Advisors for having Financial Friday. So appreciate it. We're going to be right back. You're listening to Melissa.